That's like a wealth hack that no one talks about.
Come on.
Is that level of alignment with your spouse, with the person that God says you're supposed to do life with this person?
Yeah.
If you can't run fast, then why are you even doing this thing? And so I think it's too many couples, they get married, but there's still this selfishness of like, well, I want my way and she wants her way and we'll find some compromise. That's fine, but you're gonna move a whole lot slower in your wealth building journey. And I know you're big on, I wanna find someone who I can build wealth with, who has the same legacy we're running towards. Because, marriage is either growing further apart or growing together.
Yes, sir.
Only two directions it can go. Or it's just stagnant and you get scum on the pond. And that's not a good marriage either.
Right.
So the conversations we had, and truthfully, Ramsey was a blessing because we're already talking about all this stuff every single day. And so I knew she was debt free. I knew what her goals were. And even as we talked about, like, hey, would you want to buy what do you think about if we like a modest house? She's like, absolutely. I think that's the right move. And I'm going to find one that is still beautiful. It's not like we're struggling. People think it's either your life has to suck and you have to live a terrible quality life, or you have to live way beyond your means.
Right.
We were both resourceful enough to find the sweet spot.
How old were y'all then?
I mean, we got married in 2018. Oh. We got the townhome in 2019. And so I was 30 years old.
Yep.
And she was 29.
This generation of 30-year-olds, George, they want to go get the fancy high rises and, the real fancy condos and fancy townhomes. And even some of them get some fancy houses. And
especially in the South, they're like, I want some land. I want a big single family home in the nicest area. I'm like, well, Williamson County, where Ramsey is, it's the 11th wealthiest county in the nation.
Yes.
So the average home is going for like $800,000.
And it's not even a big home.
And they're very normal homes.
Exactly.
And so it's a tough time, and it's gotten crazier since we bought a house. Because our house, that townhome, appreciated like crazy.
Did you sell it or you do?
We sold it and got a single family a few years back, and I think it sold for $529. 3 years later.
Bought it for $3.
So the appreciation on that'll beat your freaking 401k. So I'm telling you, get in the game, even if it's not your forever home or whatever the crap. Get in the game, because that is another wealth hack.
Yes.
It's just buying a house when you're financially ready, even if it's not your dream home.
Oh my God. So George, you sold that townhome for $5, and I'm pretty sure y'all put some money with it, or did y'all put some money in a single home?
Exactly. So we had all of that equity, rolled 100% of the equity, was paid off into the next home on top of all the cash. Wow. We took on a real small mortgage, knocked that out in about a year.
Wow.
And then we moved on. And so it's been paid off now for a while, and now we've just been stacking up more cash and saving up for the next thing. And so once you get used to that muscle, you're like, well, we know we can live off of $5,000 a month.
Facts.
Our lifestyle hasn't changed.
Facts. That's good.
We have nicer stuff. We save up and buy a nice car, but overall, we're not now like, well, you need a $10,000 lifestyle now. Even though we could, we just have bigger goals and we got no one to impress anymore. I'm a dad. Who am I trying to impress? I want to impress that baby. That's it.
You know what, George? You convicted me. I never told you this. Never told you this, or anyone that's outside of, in Ramsey. I've said this on my show before, but one of the biggest regrets that I doing was buying my first home. When I saw you buy that townhome, and I was like, George is debt free. I know he making some money. And this dude went and bought a townhome. And then I moved out to Columbia, South.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And bought all that land and that big old beautiful home. And if you remember, right around the time you got that townhome, I sold my home.
Yeah.
And I went and bought me a townhome in Nashville. Because I was like, why do I have this much? Like, why am I, and it's just me. I don't have no wife.
Yeah.
I did have a dog, but it was just me, and I was like, this is too much for me. And I could be a better steward with my money. And I went and got the townhome and then resigned and moved a year later after that. But it was like, I really want you to know, man, like your lifestyle and watching you is helping people.
I appreciate that.
You know what I'm saying?
Means a lot.
I was like, just being honest, it was like, man, I'm making good money. I'm debt free. What? Like, man,
yeah, you could afford it.
I'm like, yo.
It wasn't a question of money.
Right. But if I could do it over again, I would have got a $200,000 townhome for just me, paid that off. And I probably would have rented it, knowing me and my philosophy. But it was like, man, I really do appreciate you for practicing what you preach. Yo, fam, life doesn't wait for your payday, and neither should you. I want you to imagine getting your paycheck up to 2 days early. With Chime, you can. I want you to open a checking account in just minutes at chime.com/TTAO and start experiencing the freedom of getting paid early. You see, with no overdraft fees, no minimum balances, and no monthly fees, plus over 50,000 fee-free ATMs at stores you love, like Walgreens, CVS, 7-Eleven, and Circle K. Your money is always within reach. Your funds are 100% covered through the FDIC insured up to $250,000, and you'll enjoy a peace of mind with Chime's instant transaction alerts and robust security features, including two-factor and fingerprint authentication. Join me and millions of members who are already enjoying the benefits of Chime. I want you to open your account today at chime.com/TTAO. Again, that's chime.com/TTAO. Chime feels like progress. I watched you really live that lifestyle and where you are today and how you're really practicing what you preach. And this is why, y'all, I just really want y'all to really get this book, Breaking Free from Broke, and the Ultimate Guide to More Money and Less Stress, because I've watched George Kamel, and I think y'all, outside of Tiffany Budgetnista, these two are the only money two people I've had on my show promoting their money books, because I've watched Tiffany and I've watched George do it. And I think we need better young examples of how to really be wealthy and really how to build that wealth. Because at 35, he is a net worth millionaire. He is a husband. He is a father. He is an influencer. He loves Jesus. And we need more examples like George really out here showing that way. Because, I mean, George, I don't know too many 35-year-olds who would have sold their house, put all that money on another house, and then put more money on top of that to stay debt free.
Yeah.
Right? They would have took.
I get made fun of. Like my financial advisor buddies, the financial creators out there, they're like, dude, you're such a, like, I can't believe you paid off that low interest mortgage. Like, you know what you could have done with that? I'm like, yeah, I could have lost more sleep thinking about the spread I could be making. And if the market's down, then my whole plan just failed. And I'm like, in the meantime, like what we've been able to do because we've lived debt free is way better than any wealth I'm gonna build.
Yeah.
Like my wife got to stay home this year and retire from a 9-year career at Ramsey to be home with our daughter. What? And it wasn't a financial decision, it was just an emotional one.
Why?
But not once did we say, how are we gonna adjust this? Can we make this work in the budget? It just went, all right, if God's telling you to leave and you wanna be with this baby, let's do this.
How does it feel as a father and as a husband to be able to, you and your wife, partnering together? She comes to you and says, babe, I think it's that time for me to stay home and raise our child. How does it feel to be like, okay. Like there's no stress there. That's not the average person in America.
Yeah.
And with the average person watching right now, right, they're saying, yeah, George, no, that's not me and my family. But I want to say this in front of George. He knows how I talk. It is what it is.
Can't
George,
scare me.
Yeah, George wasn't making like a whole lot of like $200,000-$300,000. Well, at least while I was at Ramsey. Now I'm pretty sure he's doing very well now in the personality position. But I watched this guy literally leave there, go work extra jobs, work his butt off, grind. I know his wife; she was grinding with him, and so to do what he's did back then, to be where he is now. How do you feel, George, as a father, looking at your child, saying, man, your future is going to be different? Daughter, you have a daughter or son?
Daughter. And Mia.
Your daughter's future is going to be 10 times better than yours.
Yeah.
Not future, but 10 times better than where she was.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you was growing.
But my wife and I talk about it all the time. We're like, now the fear is like, how do we not cause her to be entitled and spoiled because she's around all this wealth and luxury from a young age.
Yes.
And, you know, I hope I do a good job raising her in such a way that, you know, Rachel, one of the most humble, sweet people.
Listen.
Even though she grew up in a life of luxury.
Yes.
And so I don't think there's this connection, this connective tissue between, well, if you grow up with nice stuff, you're going to be a spoiled brat.
Yeah.
Because I've seen Dave avoid that with how he raised the kids. He said, you got Ramsey on your last name, you're going to work twice as hard.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's the new challenge, but it is such a cool feeling going, Mia's never gonna know debt. Like college, it's just gonna be like, okay, where do you wanna go? Full ride. Okay, well, like your first car, you're gonna save up, you're gonna work hard, but you're never going into debt for anything. And so I love Dave's philosophy on that. If he knows the pain of debt, and he went, never again in the Ramsey family name are people going to have debt attached to it.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a really cool legacy on its own. And the conversation with Whitney around raising her and continuing to live debt free. It's amazing what happens when you just debt's off the table.
Yeah.
And you talked about that all the time. We got to take debt off the table.
Got to.
And once you do that, it just becomes a identity for you.
Yeah.
And it's not a flex. I don't look down on those who are like, well, I do life a different way. I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you ever want to try something else, come see your boy, and I'll show you a different path.